Peace, I'm Yolanda Marie, or Yani for short, for House of Fluid Reflections, back again with you for our next Artist Touch Talk episode. And today I'm joined by a very special guest. Her name is Tirza, and I'm going to let her introduce herself because, oh my goodness, what this woman does and is amazing. So Tirza, who are you?
Hey, I'm Tirza. I am a graphic designer. I design motion graphics. I also design logos, static graphics, flyers. And then I'm also into fashion. I have my brand, the POLAR Movement. I do a lot of not just t-shirts and sweatshirts, hoodies, but I'm trying to branch over more into like the harder versions of clothing lines like jackets, outerwear, coats, even backpacks, trying to venture out that far, and creating my own custom ideas and that sort of nature. So yeah, that's who I am a little bit. Favorite color is orange.
Love it.
Love to sing, love to dance, freedom. Um, yeah, I just really like anything that has to do with like freedom of expression and freedom of self. So, yep.
Awesome. She even got into our second question because our second question is typically, who are you personally? Because we've become so accustomed to when we express who we are, we say, well, this is what I do. But you even got into like who you are personally and what you enjoy. So I love that. So let's get into a little bit more of this freedom of expression. Where did that come from? Like, when did that kind of blossom inside of you as part of who you are?
I think it started when I was younger. Definitely, I grew up in a church, and one of the things that my mom put me in first was choir. So, starting off with that, and then also my school, actually, now that I think about it, my elementary school put us through an art immersion program where we go to the Fillmore in DC, and they would like throw us into art. There's music classes there. I learned how to play the flute. So from very young, I was immersed into just like music, the arts, the theater arts, and then around the middle school years of my days, I went and did. Is this place? It was called DCYE, DC Youth Ensemble, and so I was a little bit of a theater kid as well. I got into that, and for 3 summers of my life, I was there intense with like some Broadway people. Like they were Duke Ellington School of the Arts is involved, so like they were very serious about their craft. We learned a little bit of fashion design, and I think that's probably where more of like the fashion influence came from. But we had like fashion arts and crafts there, and then we also did. We had a big play at the end of the summer. We danced. We did singing lessons for those who like to sing. And yeah, it was an all immersive like thing for DC kids growing up that they wanted to go to Duke Ellington School of the Arts, or maybe they just wanted to be more immersed into like the arts theater side of life. They didn't want to go to Duke Ellington. Growing up, I did want to go to Duke Ellington until like I don't know. I just realized that wasn't like my route. I don't know what changed, but like growing up, I did want to be in the theater arts. So a little bit of that was where like my artsy side came from, and then I just kind of cultivated it. And then in the 9th grade, I went to high school, and I found out that there were tracks that you can go to. I went to Woodrow Wilson High School. I was a Tiger. I did the HAM track, and the HAM was Humanities, Arts, and Media. Ooh, I think it's media. But I was able to go on that track and then do the graphic design route. And when I did the graphic design route, there was only one course. And then in the 12th grade, there was a different course for motion graphics. But I learned how to full-on graphic design there. And my teacher was telling me, like, you have a really good eye for, like, design. Like, you should really take this a little bit more seriously and then go to college for it. And then I went to college for it after doing my motion graphics course in 12th grade. Went to college for it for 4 years at North Carolina A&T State University, Aggie Pride, woo woo. And then what else did I do? Yeah, I did that there, and then I got into yearbook because of an orientation leader. She came and she was like, is your child in the graphic design track? Because we all had little badges on in orientation, and our badges said like what our field was, like where we were going, like our college, and mine was the College of Science and Technology, but specifically in there was the graphic design technology track. So she was like, is your child a graphic designer? Because we're looking for some more graphic design students to join. When I joined, there was only like, I think there was only a few sophomores, and then like all the rest of them were seniors, so they were transferring out, and so they were looking for new talent to come in before they transferred out. And so I came in, and then I elevated. Next thing you know, I was layout editor, and then I went from layout editor to co-editor-in-chief my junior year, and then I stepped down from that position and then just became a layout editor because co-editor-in-chief is cool, but it was a lot. It was a lot of work. And
I can imagine.
During that time, I was also a president of my modeling troupe. But before that, so like that's kind of the reason why I stepped down from the co-editor-in-chief position. But before that, I was that same year that I joined Yearbook, I found some people who were cool with a guy named Yani, and he introduced me to the POLAR Movement, and then that's when I started designing like t-shirts for them and started really trying to elevate their brand with graphics. Like around my like sophomore, junior year, that's when we started playing around with messaging and really trying to promote the brand as much as possible, as far as like being the voice of the youth. And that was there at A&T in Greensboro, and just trying to promote messages that had to do with our time. Like I think at the time, it was just a lot of police brutality going on, and it was a lot of unexpressed and unheard and angry voices, and so we put that on a lot of our t-shirts. And even just so much as so, it's just like trying to get like spaces and venues to help out other students and be a part of those type of events where we're helping out other students like voice their letting their voices be heard. So that's where like my art journey kind of like transferred to over time. It was from when I was little, music and being thrown into like music and theater really young, to learning how to design and fashion. Now I'm here.
That's amazing. I love that. And that track. And so it's beautiful to see how everything kind of weaved together, and how you're really pretty much made of the creative art.
Yeah.
The creative arts have comprised a good portion of who you are, and I think that's so beautiful and amazing. So talk to us a little bit more about the POLAR Movement. Like, what is that? What is it to you? How did you really infiltrate into that space?
So yeah, I started off just doing like regular t-shirts and things of that nature. And this is like, they were in a rebrand. So the POLAR Movement came out in 2013. But they were trying to experience and do a couple of designs that, I don't know, they were trying to like build up themselves a little bit better on campus. And they were definitely active, as in like activism, like being out, doing protests and things of that nature. Whenever something happened, like when Eric Garner got killed, it really spoke to them in a way that it hurt them. You know, it hurt all of us. It hurt all of us. But at that time, I didn't know them yet, but they were really active on campus and really using their clothing to push their agenda of, you know, being the voice of the oppressed and making sure that everybody's voices are being heard. And so the POLAR Movement stands for Positive Outlook About Reality. It's an acronym, and I mentioned this to you before, but it's a lifestyle, streetwear, multidisciplinary brand that encompasses both music but also fashion. So there's a music branch as well that Manny and Sire have garnered into the industry. Sire, he lives in LA. Manny, he still lives on the East Coast. He still lives here in DC. And so they use all of their resources to the best of their ability to make music. And the clothing, I feel like, elevates the music. So that's how like the multidisciplinary thing comes into play, because without clothing, there really is no music. Without the music, you know, there's no inspiration sometimes for the clothing. So I found that really fun. That's a fun environment to work in. But all in all, POLAR Movement is just about giving a voice and expressing the opinions of those who can't really be heard, or you know, like now we have Twitter, and Twitter is more active than ever and popping, but like beforehand it didn't seem like those voices had a collection, like an organization. And I think that's how like Polar came to be. It's just like that unexpressed anger, that unexpressed like sadness, unexpressed everything, all into one, just came into like a baby of clothes. And then that's how it happened. And now we don't just do like activism style clothes. As you can see, like this has nothing to do with activism, but like if you grab my black shirt that's in there, we have one that's like who do you march for? And this that's kind of like, it came about during the time of, you know, Breonna Taylor last year, and George Floyd, and you know, just all the voices that weren't being heard. And then, you know, the go-go came about, and the go-go for Mochella came about. They were talking about March on Washington and how that all related back to MLK and what he was trying to do for our people. And so that's where the inspiration for this shirt came from. And it came from anger. Again, it came from sadness. It came from irritation and all of that. So we left a blank spot here. I don't write in it because I like putting a sticker over top of it, and then like writing like Hootie, because the names are endless, honestly. But like we left a blank spot here. Like if there was somebody specifically that you marched for. There's so many people who died to police brutality just in DC alone, and they don't talk about it. So if there was someone like specific and that hit home to you, you could write it there with a white Sharpie, or you could stick a sticker on it, like a "Hello, my name is" sticker. Is meant to be interactive. So and voice your opinions out that way. But like that's just like one of the ways that we've like tried to interact with our community on a larger scale since we've left A&T, because you know, at A&T and at any HBCU, it's like a bubble, and I feel like you don't get that experience any other like PWI institute, you know, like those type of colleges. They didn't really, I don't feel like they foster that environment the way that an HBCU does. And so being that we were all from an HBCU at A&T, we just decided like we're gonna band together and use all of our bright minds. I think I'm the only like graphic design student that joined the team, but they're all JOMC, so they're very heavy on like using your voice and pushing a narrative that like will better future generations. So yeah, that's what Polar is really about in a nutshell. It's just using your voice and being active as best as possible. But we also do fun clothes as well. Like it's not just all like somber, stoic, like not all of that. But you know, we try our best to do both sides now to try to appeal to you know, more fun and not so serious conversations. But those conversations definitely needed to be had, and that's why we did it from the start, like just putting it out on clothes. So
absolutely, I love that. That's beautiful. So given all these deep messages and beautiful meanings and intentions that the Polar Movement has, how has that affected you personally? Has that changed you, or have you experienced any kind of growth personally from working for and with the Polar Movement, designing for them?
Yeah, definitely growth. Going back to the whole activism thing, like I was one of those people who was just like angry and just like, you know, tweeting on Twitter, but like not really feeling like I was doing anything. Like last year we did the mask, our green mask, which I actually have, but I don't know if it's in the car or not. But our green mask went to Until Freedom. Tamika Valerie, we gave all of our profits to her organization for George Floyd and Breonna Taylor. So we dedicated all of our green masks to green, and I think we did black. Green and black masks to help out that cause, because that was a time where it was just like, what is happening? Like it was clear as day that Breonna Taylor should have that situation just shouldn't have happened. It was clear as day, and like they were just disregarding it. And that was like one of those times, it's like, I'm angry, but at least I can do something with like my talent. And it's just, you should use your art to, in times like that especially, you should use your art to speak. If you can't speak, use your art to speak. And I just felt like I was able and I could do it. So we all got together and we put together like a little video explaining why we were doing it and why it was important to us. And just the whole importance behind it was that it's real. Like the things that are happening every day is just, it continues to happen, and there's no explanation at this point for it. It's inexcusable. So yeah. that's one of the ways that I grew in Polar. But then another way is just like in design in general. Like, we went from t-shirts to now like doing full blown like conversations with the manufacturing industry and making sure that our tech packs are in order. Like, I didn't study fashion, but I'm learning, and I love to constantly learn. I did a course with Parsons, trying to, and I need to still finish it, but trying to learn more about the streetwear industry and like how those who are now popular came to be, and the disparities between, you know, Black streetwear designers and white streetwear designers, and like how they profited off us and all that stuff. But at the end of the day, it really is about like growth and like what you decide to do with like your path. Like, are you going to choose to just do t-shirts for the rest of your life? Is that inspiring to you? It may be inspiring to you. For me, it was, I needed to grow and I needed to push the boundaries a little bit. So doing the coat, I think that was an awesome experience for me, because I was like, wow, like that's the first time I felt like my creative juice is flowing again in fashion. And then when I took the courses in Parson, because of Polar, you know, because if it wasn't for Polar, I probably wouldn't have even paid money to take extra courses in something that wasn't my major. But I learned more about tech packs. I learned more about how to communicate effectively, and get your designs across, hopefully in like at least under 4 samples. But yeah, I learned a lot.
It's awesome. That's beautiful. Wow. Okay. I love that. And I love that for you. And it's beautiful to see how you've grown even with the movement that is Polar, and you're literally living out the acronym as well. So I think that's dope. So you mentioned modeling. So it sounds like you do more art than just, you know, sitting behind doing the designs. What was that? Talk to us about that experience. How'd you get into modeling?
So it's not like print modeling. I was a part of Couture, and I joined my freshman year because I just knew that like I wanted to try out modeling, and I knew that there was a modeling team at ENT. And so when I joined, I did not know anything. I did not know. Not only did I not know print, but like I really just did not know how to walk. And so the leaders of the modeling troupe in Couture, they taught me how to walk and how to basically wear heels and wear the clothes and present the clothes. And we did a couple fashion shows. And then eventually over time, I don't know what happened. After year 1, I became secretary, and then I became vice president year 2. And then my senior year, I became president. And it was interesting. It was an interesting experience. I learned how to also creative direct in that space as well. We did a couple of shows, and then I learned how to like organize a script from top to bottom, and then, which I already kind of had experience, like I know how a script flows because of the theater experience I had, but like learning how to use the space to the best of our ability, and then also just like project management, like getting everyone together and really working on a goal or a task that has to do with bettering the future of Couture as a whole, because being an organization on an HBCU campus is kind of hard. Not because like the system is trying to like bring you down or anything like that. No, it's just like they hold you to a high standard and they expect you to execute it. And if you don't execute it, it's kind of like, why didn't you execute it? Or it's just, you know, how are you representing the HBCUs to the best of your ability? So in a sense, everybody is like kings and queens when it comes to like being president or being a part of like the council of like presidents, which is like COP at ENT. It's like you really have to like be on your best game, like be on your best, because like they're looking to you to do that and to represent the school to the best of the ability. So yeah, it taught me a lot. And it taught me how to walk and do the walk like to the best of my ability. Really walking your walk and talking the talk, and poise and elegance in class and all that is very needed. But yeah, I started off from not knowing anything to learning everything. So that experience I'm extremely grateful for. Extremely grateful.
That's
for.
amazing. It's like Tirza does everything.
No!
She said, I learned the creative direct, scripting, like top to bottom, she has got it. So, speaking on fashion designs, talk to me about Designs by Ziggy.
Oh yeah. Sometimes I tend to forget about like that as a whole, because I've kind of put that to like the side a little bit, and I kind of feel sad about it saying that now, but I got a job in February, so
congrats.
I've been pushing that kind of like to the side because it's like my job is kind of like taking up all my day. But I've been trying to squeeze in clients as I can. But Designs by Ziggy, it started off as just like me just wanting to learn more about my craft and trying to see if I could really freelance and see if I was even good at what I did. Like that was like one of my first things where I was just like, am I even good? And I kind of doubted myself a lot throughout the years, and I just didn't think that I was good enough to like charge and make people pay. Like I started off really low, like at $40 for a logo, and now I'm like doing $200 for a logo, which most people would say like isn't good, but I feel like it's a good place for me because I'm still learning, and I don't know, for me, I just feel like there's always more to learn. So I don't feel like I'm there yet. People say I'm undercutting myself. I don't know. I like doing it because it makes me feel comfortable, and you should do whatever you feel is comfortable. Like you shouldn't feel like you have to be pressured into like this price bracket or something like that. Eventually, one day, I will be pushing myself past there. But right now, I feel like 200 is right. It makes me feel like, you know, I'm doing a good service, a good deed. And I really love helping people out, like visually represent themselves, whatever that may be. And that's really what design is. It's visually representing your identity, your brand, whatever it is. And then the other half is problem solving. And I really love like trying to figure out like what is the solution to whatever it is that you're trying to create. Like if I'm trying to do a brand about baby ducks, but the baby ducks have to be swimming in the ocean, you know, how fast do they have to swim? It's kind of just like, how do you bring all that together and then make that into a logo? And then like you have like a speed duck boat situation. Like you have like a logo that's a speed duck. So a speedboat duck. Like just trying to grab all those things together and then putting them into one whole thing. That's what really makes it fun and makes it like worthwhile. And like hearing, oh, you did such a great job. That's not really what makes me like keep moving forward. It's more so like seeing that they're using it and seeing that it really like affected their brand in a positive way. That's what I really love about Designs by Ziggy. And it's constantly a work in progress. Sometimes I still doubt myself, but I really love doing creative works. And I can like show you like my branding guide. But now like I do branding guides for people, and I like take them step by step through the journey and the process that I do. And my clients have really loved that. Like they really love the fact that I like laid out for them why your typography is like cursive instead of bold and serious, or why your colors are yellow because yellow means sunshine. Say your brand was like about sunglasses, you know, yellow correlates with the sun. Just really giving them insights into like the process and like how they ended up, and a lot of it comes from them. I give them a PDF and I say like, explain your brand to me, like explain what this means to you, why you're doing it. Like I'm really interested in knowing all of that before I start, because that really elevates the experience that you'll get from me. Is telling me like, where are you seeing this brand go? What do you really want out of it in the future, and what do you think this means to you, so that I can properly give you a logo, because it's a reflection of you at the end of the day. Like your logo is a reflection of you and your brand. So I try to make sure that I do the best I can to like pull everything out. Like it's an interview. Like you're pulling everything out of them. You're trying to see what makes sense so that you can be in their brain a little bit and then create something that's hopefully close to what they were thinking about having for their logo. So
absolutely. Yes. And I think on that note that you talked about figuring out your pricing, I think that's something as creatives we all struggle with a little bit. It's like, what is my value? What is my worth? What is the service that I'm providing? And I definitely think you're right that it's definitely a growth experience. And like you said, like you get there. And so you're like, okay, I already raised them. I'm at 200 right now. You'll raise the next when it's time. And I think that's appropriate. And I think that's what we do as artists, that like you said, about the comfortability, but also understanding we gotta get a little uncomfortable sometimes, but definitely like you're on that process already, so I commend you for that, because that is one of those things that definitely stumps us as creators. It's just like, oh, but what to charge? So I love that you're already like thinking about that and doing the things that you feel like you need to get to that next place. And hopefully you will be able to find some more time, even with your new job, to still nurture that baby, and keep your creative arts just booming and everything. So speaking on your arts, like, what are some of the things that inspire you to keep going with Designs by Ziggy, the Polar Movement, all of that? Like, what are some of your greatest inspirations?
I love looking at, so I was telling you earlier about the coat situation. I love looking at other fashion designers like Winslow, and just seeing what they're coming up with next. And then also I follow a traditional graphic designer, I think back in the like 90s, or like prior to computers. Like the way that they did graphic design was they would a magazine cut out, or like in a newspaper they would cut out with like a what is that, X-Acto knife. They would use that, they would cut it out, they'd paste it together, and then they would take a picture with it with cameras, which is why in most graphic design courses they force photography in a little bit, even though you're not like a JMC, they force that in because I feel like that was very important back then. But I follow a guy that does that whole entire process where he like cuts it out raw, and then like it's almost like you're using Photoshop, but you're really just doing it with an X-Acto knife, and it's kind of like collaging in the same sense, and it's therapeutic as well. Strangely, like the way he does stuff, like he'll take a head from a model in a magazine, cut out maybe like around here, and then on top of that he'll put, or like say like the model was wearing glasses, he would cut out where the glasses were, he would change the reflection in the glasses, or he'll put like a little flower in between, and then the flower he would cut it in a way that it would wrap around the head and then like sprout out in the head. It's weird designs, but like it just takes me back to like the roots of like where graphic design has like evolved from. And like that's kind of like one of the ways that like I keep myself inspired, and like my page currently right now is kind of inspired by him, except for I don't do the X-Acto knife and the, that's too manual for me, and I'm horrible with X-Acto knives. My professor got mad at me.
They're definitely a special skill.
Yeah,
for sure.
I'm horrible with them, but like I do a couple of like inspiration. I've done a couple of inspiration designs based off of Mr. Cut and Stick. That's his name on Instagram. But I really enjoyed it, and that's something that brought back my passion and made me want to revamp my page. So I should keep up with it. I didn't, but we're gonna get back to it soon. Soon. It's the summer. Absolutely. I should have some time to do something. I don't know what, but I'll have some time to like come up with some more ideas. But it comes as I get inspired, and like that's one of the ways. It's like scrolling through Instagram and seeing my favorite current brand designers, or clothing designers, or people who just do design for fun, or even like Procreate videos. I'm thinking about getting an iPad, and that's like my next step in the journey. Is like learning how to animate with Procreate, making fluid animations. So
awesome. That's so dope. And I love that. Definitely that inspiration from other artists and creators. Environment's another one for me that inspires me, but I love that. And I know definitely when you're talking about the face cutout, I saw your Ariana one, I think, that had the face cutout. I was like, ooh, she killed that. That was me.
Thank you.
Yes. So, still on inspirations, have your arts, your crafts inspired you in any way in your personal life, or helped you kind of blossom in your personal life through your experiences in your arts?
I think a lot of people know me now for designing, and I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I definitely, like I told you, I've definitely grown in design since the inception, which is like 10th grade when I was in high school. Definitely grown. But I just keep myself like in the loop of design so that I can stay educated on it. And I think that that's one of the ways that I continue to grow. And the more I do that, the more people will get to know me on a design level. And so I think that's one of the ways that people will know me. But it's definitely one of those things where it's like, as I continue to grow, people start getting more interested, and they start reaching out, and they're like, oh, did you do this? And so my experiences have definitely been mapped out because of how I've been designing. So
awesome. Do you have a favorite art piece?
Favorite art piece. And
it could be clothing, it could be digital.
I know, that's what I was like, I'm trying to like see, like, I have different.
Or one of each. We do that, one of each. One
okay,
clothing,
well, my
one digital.
favorite clothing piece right now is actually what I have on, but yeah, this is my very favorite clothing design because we pushed the boundaries a little bit for women. We wanted to try to create more women-based designs, and granted, like, this is like the beginning of it, so it could definitely improve. Like, we're trying to make sure that we're being all-inclusive with sizing and things of that nature. But this is really stretchy at the same time. So our extra large, I think, goes really past extra large. It goes to like double XL. But I definitely think that this was a hit. A lot of people were saying they wanted it. They just didn't know yet that they were going to fit it or not because everything's so online. Yeah, this is my favorite. And then I think my other favorite, let me pull it up. My other favorite is on Instagram. Because it's a personal design. Like, normally I don't get to do a lot of personal designs, and that's what my Designs by Ziggy page is for. It's trying to bring back that culture of, like, personal. My favorite one, and it's my favorite album from last year, is the Ungodly Hour album. Chloe and Halle did that, yes. But this is my favorite.
Awesome. I love that. Yes, and the colors. Like, when I saw it, I was like, okay. She's stepping out. All right, I see her.
Fan art. And I used to hate Photoshop, by the way. So, like, this is a lot of the work that I do now is on Photoshop. And it's so funny to me because I'm just like, I used to hate Photoshop. Like, Illustrator was my baby and that's all I wanted to do. But now I'm learning more about, like, I always knew how to, but I was afraid of it, I guess. Now I'm learning more how to, like, manipulate photos and, like, really create your own compositions in Photoshop. And I find that really fun, and this page is like a testament to that. So
awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is one of my new favorite questions. But what is your why?
My why?
Yeah.
Oh. Wow. Well, so for Designs by Ziggy, like I said, like I really like. When it's a client-based thing, I really like seeing people elevate themselves through like whatever I create for them, and then they use it to like benefit themselves for the future. And that's really my why, is for on a client-based level to help them manage their brand and their identity and create something that could possibly, I don't know, maybe save their life in the future or like give them a future to like live on, because everything starts with having that solution of a brand identity and really knowing who you are. And that's why I ask those questions. It's like, you're coming to me asking for a design, but like, do you know what you really want to do with this in the future? Like, I want to make sure that it showcases that. So client-wise, that's the why.
Yeah.
My why in general, I guess, would be kind of almost the same thing out of that. It's just like building a future for my children. Because my mom, she's very supportive of me, but she didn't want me to do design. She was a scientist, so she didn't want me to go into design growing up. She wanted me to do something like, I would say engineering, but more on like the chemical doctor, like that route. So for me, it's more so just giving my children the future. Not that she didn't give me that freedom. Clearly I'm here. But like to have a role model of like saying like you don't have to go into those roles. Like you can be a creative director. You can be you can break out into singing. You can break out into dancing. You can do theater. Like you can. I'm very artistic, and I hope my child is artistic too in some way or capacity. But like in the future, I think that's my why, to like show my children like you don't have to be a doctor. Doctor is great. A lawyer is great. Being a chemist, being a nurse, all that is great. But like there is more to life than just making money. Number one, but then number two, like you just have to have fun. You have to have fun and love what you do. I don't want my children to grow up and just be like, I did this because this seems right, or there's no right path. I'm still trying to find my path, but I feel like I'm a little bit more on my feet now that I have like a job in my field, which was another hard task, very hard task to do. But the harder the route, I feel like the sweeter the treasure that you get from it, like the sweeter the reward. So yeah, that's my why, just showing that there's more to life than just, making money. You should really love what you do, and I'm just trying to live in that motto. So yeah.
Absolutely. That's a great why. That's an amazing why. I love that. And on that note of having found a job and that being really hard, congratulations.
Thank you.
Do you see yourself staying in that lane, or do you envision going more entrepreneurial in the future?
I think, well, okay, so my goal, and I guess that was another why I just forgot about it. My goal is to come back and then teach what I've learned. Because I started my whole cycle, I wanted to come full circle. My whole cycle was I learned it in school from high school. I want to go back and teach it in other high schools because my high school was kind of like well off. But like in DC, there are a lot of underserved communities that don't have graphic design as even a course or like certain courses. So I want to be able to introduce that into like the DC public school field. It's like you can have arts in not a non-art school, or like those that don't have tracks, like introduce like those like humanities, arts, and media tracks into other schools. And that might be hard, but I want to try and push for that, or like just try and push from my position. And then hopefully if my position is open in that school, that will push other schools to do the same thing. And then, baby steps, like little breadcrumbs. But I know for certain that some schools didn't have graphic design or motion graphics even because they couldn't afford the programs or what have you. So that was a little bit more of my why. But yeah, that's my goal, and really trying to get into that as much as possible. Yeah.
Awesome. I love that. And bringing it full circle, giving back like that. So literally here at House of Fluid Reflections, that's our goal too, is just like reflecting what's been reflected to us, like something in you is in me. And so yes, we love the idea of giving back and creating a path and availability and access to other people. And I love that because definitely I'm the same way. I'm a product of having had access to the arts and all those things of that nature, and a photography program in middle school and things of that nature. So yes, I love that, just going back and helping and serving. So that's, yes. Do you have anything that you would like to offer to other artists or creators, or just people in general, be it advice or some words or thoughts?
Okay, advice number 1, charge what you feel is right. Don't because like I said before, you don't want to get into a habit of like you're feeling out of place because you're charging. Don't compare yourself. I guess that's number 1. That's the overarching thing. Don't compare yourself. You be yourself. You know what you're worth. You know that worth. If you feel like people are telling you it's less, it's not. It's what you feel like is best for you. And so, I personally charged at that price because I don't want to lose sight of who I am, but then also I don't want to lose that passion and that tenacity that I have in my field. And so I felt like that was a comfortable price for me, and maybe one day it'll grow. But just don't compare yourself. I think that's like the start. Like that's the start. Like, do not compare yourself to anyone else. And then collaborate. In DC, there's like this atmosphere like you have to be cutthroat and you have to like make it on your own. But like I think collaborating is important, and trying to reach out to other people, do pop-up shops. Even if it's not with like a specific person, it's with a group of people. I think that's even better. Like definitely try to get yourself out there and network. So yeah, be yourself. Don't compare yourself. Collaborate, network, and then just stay true to your passion. If your passion is doing one specific thing in that field, you stay true to that. And then you can always learn more. But don't let anyone try to coax you out or try to talk you out of doing what you love, because you're going to regret it. So.
Awesome. I love that. So before we go, what can we look to see from Tirza, Designs by Ziggy, or the Polar Movement coming soon?
Definitely we have more micro drops coming this summer, so follow us at the Polar Movement on Instagram. We have plenty of clothes that we're sitting on that we're just like waiting. We're just waiting for the right times to drop everything and replenish our stock.
Awesome. That's amazing. Now, do you want to give the people where they can find you, all your different handles, social medias? Where can we find you?
Okay. On Twitter, it's my name backwards with the underscore. So that's going to be a little hard. But it's AZRIT _. On Instagram, it's Tirzz. So just my name, TIRZ, twice without the A. And then Designs by Ziggy is my designs page. And all that will be like hooked up on my Instagram, so you can see it in my bio, like where to go. And then the Polar Movement is straight up the Polar Movement on Instagram. So.
And we'll have all that typed up on the screen, probably somewhere here and in the description box below. So all the spellings and everything and the links will be in the description box below. Make sure you give Tirza and the Polar Movement and Designs by Ziggy all follows and support. That is what we're here for, creating community like she touched on before. It's about the collaboration, it's about the community, it's about the coming together and the supporting and telling and sharing our stories and encouraging those who are next. So again, this is Tirza, and I'm Yolanda Marie, Yani for short, for House of Fluid Reflections. Thank you for tuning in for another episode of Artist Touch Talks. We will talk to you in the next one. Peace.
Yay!